Greetings survivors and friends, SHADOWFRAX here with some big news, and I do have a roundup of this month's patch, a day earlier than usual, but I'm sure you don't mind. But first, we're now just a month away from the most world-changing patch of the year, quite literally, and so as of today, playtesting of the new world updates opened up on the Orxo 2 branch for you to check it out, and I'll stick details of how to do this down in the description. But to save you the effort, I'll also give you a quick look at the current state of play here so you can get an idea, but please note, everything is subject to change, and the team will be changing it a lot, often without warning, over the next month. So here we go, and just so you know, this is all filmed on a 4500 size map. As already mentioned, there will be some new map features arriving to spice things up a bit, including canyons, an example of which you can see here. And these huge scars on the landscape are something you're going to have to learn to work around, or maybe even work to your advantage, as they do seem to contain a fair number of ore nodes. There are proper inland freshwater lakes, two such on this map, with gently sloping driftwood covered shores, and which are also teeming with fish. You'll notice too the way the landscape's painted around these and elsewhere fits very neatly with them being places where water has run to. And in the desert you'll find their cousins, the oases, which are again freshwater, smaller and shallower, so building in one is an attractive prospect, but at the moment I think it's undecided as to whether they'll contain any fish. As part of these upcoming changes, there are a few new rock formations, a selection of which you can see here, and these can be found both inland and along the coast, although there does seem to be a dearth of larger temperate rock formations, which I'm told will hopefully be added later, depending on time. And finally, I can show you the fruit of all that work that's been going on to remodel cliffs. And these are altogether a lot more granular, it would seem, which, although they still look imposing, makes them a lot easier to clamber up and should save quite a few space bars in the future. Wells are being changed up, and there are planters in some of them now, which will restock with random stuff for you to pick. And as well as this, there will be food caches, which are currently not spawning on this map, and NPC vendors hanging around who will sell you stuff, and who can be killed, apparently, although you won't get anything for doing it. Out in the ocean, you'll find a number of new dive sites have been added, and I've counted several different configurations. Gone are the old sunken tugboats, and there are now a lot of new props to spice stuff up, including old planes and crabs. And instead of the familiar plastic bottle to mark them, there are brand new shiny buoys bobbing around above, which are much easier to spot. Although they have lights on them, they don't come on at night at the moment, subject to change. Oh, and they're sometimes patrolled by sharks. Such fun. Back inland again, the new Radtown Redux is finally here, called the Toxic Village on the map. I've been to one or two of those myself. And here's a quick overview for you. The layout will be familiar to legacy veterans, although everything here is amped up compared to the before times. The main buildings are in the same general configuration as before and are irradiated, as you would expect, although the interiors are far more detailed and there are a lot of new props and set dressings going on. You'll also find pools of that new fizzy drink I mentioned before, radioactive water, which is about as good for you as concentrated Mountain Dew, and likewise will be a contaminant if added to other water sources or splashed on players. So, for instance, you could fill up a bucket of it and chuck it on someone's vegetable plot to murder their produce, or fill up a super soaker and go on a rather deadly radioactive killing spree. Nerfs incoming, I think. However, this would make a bucket of fizzy water above the doorway trap an extremely attractive base defense. Please add that face punch. Just a couple of notes on the monument. There is some standard loot around, but I imagine this isn't final. And FYI, the recycler can be located here in this building by one of the gates. As shown recently, the rivers are also being completely rewritten, being great long affairs now, starting small and then gradually widening as they wind out to the ocean. Currently, roads and rails cross over them like this, but I imagine these will be replaced by some kind of bridge to maintain believability at some point. And a new yet also very old resource node is in town, namely the legacy wood pile, back from the ancientest of times, and yielding about 1,175 wood per node, subject to change. Now all we need are rad bears and rad wolves, and we're sorted. And of course, as you've probably noticed, I am sporting the latest from the Rust Autumn Winter collection, as the Frontier Suit hazmat skin is also now on this branch, and is very trapper chic, should I say, covered in bits of animal and almost completely in exciting shades of brown, which definitely gives it a camouflage edge over the standard hazmat, although the stats are the exact same. Everything I've shown you so far is, of course, coming in October 3rd's patch, along with a lot more, so stay tuned this month for everything else that happens. Meanwhile, today is September's patch, so what do we get to play with right now on the main branch? Most of this is the same as what I've already covered in the last couple of vids, but to recap, we've got a new digital clock I/O entity, workbench level 2, 100 frags to craft, and this both shows the server time and lets you set several alarms which can be output to trigger circuits. There's wallpaper now, a default item costing 20 cloth per panel and available as default in 4 scintillating colours, although there will be a wallpaper starter pack with an additional 22 patterns as shown last week for about the same price as a building skin, I'm told. I'm also guessing starter pack implies further packs down the road. There's the new weapon attachment, the gas compression overdrive, workbench level 2, 125 to research, 10 high qual to craft, and which boosts projectile damage and velocity, allowing you to hit harder with the trade-off of a slower fire rate and increased recoil. The GCO works on the Thompson, SAR, SAP, M92, M39 and custom SMG. As shown last week, the colour-blind options are now available under the accessibility tab in options and can be used to change around the colours of most things that could be an issue, including tree hit markers and even mushrooms, if you so desire. Gone are building errors in chat, and instead a nice pop-up will tell you exactly why you can't park that building block there, mate, taking all of the mystery out of the proceedings. And dynamic vendor prices have become even more dynamic. They now update every 3 hours on monthly, 2 hours on bi-weekly and 1 hour on weekly tagged servers, although there are a couple of Convars to adjust these, which I'll try to remember to put in the description for you. Oh, and also there's a Convar called Global Disable Clouds now, which does exactly what it says on the tin. Apart from that, check the dev blog when it's out for details of all the other small changes in this month's patch, and let me know below what you think to all of the stuff I've talked about today. You are now officially up to date. Leave a like and sub to the channel. Join me elsewhere on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group, and support the channel here via Super Thanks, YouTube memberships, or Patreon, and I shall catch you all soon. In the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio. I've been to one or two of those myself.